Let's talk to Labour this morning in the form of Annelise Dodds, of course, Chair of the Labour Party and Shadow Women and Equalities Secretary. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Let's talk about Suella Braverman's speech to start with in Washington a bit later on. What is Labour's view on small boat refugees?
Well, we think we really need to have a clear plan and policies that can be speedily implemented in this area. We've obviously seen, sadly, real chaos in the asylum system. Unfortunately, we've seen a 70% drop in the rate of returns. We've seen only 1% of those people who came over in boats last year actually having their cases processed, and we've seen the rate of convictions of people smugglers going down. Now, Labour's got a clear plan to deal with that. Yvette Cooper has set out that plan. That involves, for example, international agreements on returns. The government said they would get those. They haven't delivered on them, but Labour's been working with other countries already to make sure we can secure those agreements. We would also be sharing information with other countries, have our police working in joint police cells with other nations so that we can clamp down on those people smugglers. Unfortunately, too many of them at the moment, as I said, escaping any kind of sanction and the rate of prosecutions having gone down. And we'd also get a grip on that processing situation. We set out how we would increase the number of caseworkers, for example. We'd have Nightingale-style courts to actually be processing those claims, because the rate of processing really has fallen through the floor under the Conservatives.
So you're not caring sharing, you just would send them back quicker?
Well, we think it's really important that we've got a system that's fair and that's firm as well. We don't have either under the Conservatives. It's really important that we have a system that reflects our values as a nation, but also one that is, as I said, firm and fair. And we've not had that over recent years. We've seen really significant failures here. That's why Labour set out those practical policies that would get a grip on this situation.
What about parents who scrimp and save to send their kids to private school? You're going to put the fees up by 20% by charging private schools 20% VAT in the first year of office?
Well, we've actually seen over the last 20 years the fees that private schools charge going up pretty much year on year, often above inflation. And there's not been any drop-off in the number of students and pupils attending those schools. In fact, the number of pupils at those schools has gone up over time. We do believe
you'd bung on another 20%.
Well, we believe that politics is about choices. We want to make sure that every child can attend an excellent school. At the moment, 90% of kids go to schools that are not private, to schools that are in the state sector. We need to be gathering the money from somewhere in order to be able to deliver that change. We've been really upfront about this.
So you're going to push on with that policy?
Well, this is about choices. We don't think it's right to be walking away from those children and their families.
We think,
yes, absolutely, because we need to see that change. And you know what Labour will never do is have an unfunded policy. We had that with Liz Truss. We saw the impact on our economy.
Not talking about Liz Truss, talking about Labour this morning, if I may. Given that you were so straightforward on VAT for private schools, would you consider a Lib Dem Labour pact?
Well, no, we don't want to be seeing any deals with other parties. Well, that's fine. That's for the Liberal Democrats to consider.
And but what Labour... Your door, would you say no, no?
Well, what Labour's focused on is actually having a majority Labour government. And where we've seen recent election results, whether that's local elections or by-elections, we've shown that we can actually ultimately aim towards that majority Labour government. And frankly, it's not party leaders who decide the outcomes of elections. It is voters, and quite rightly so.
I was reading while I was away that in order for you to get a one-seat majority at the next election, Labour would have to have a landslide victory in the form of in the form of what Tony Blair did. So you may well have to do a deal with the Lib Dems, but you're saying absolutely not.
So we're not complacent. We recognise that obviously we need to keep developing policy, keep having those conversations with voters on the doorstep. But if you look at the places where Labour is building back, well, if you look at the places where Labour is building back, look at what's happened in Scotland, where there's been a really big reversal of Labour's fortunes under Anna Sarwar. Look at where we've been winning in the south, in the Midlands, in the north of England. It shows we are on that path, but we're not complacent. We're going to keep working hard. We really want to deliver that change for working people in our country. We're serious about that.
But you're still going to keep Ed Davey close, just to be on the safe side? that?
Well, no, we want to make sure that we can have a majority Labour government, because it's only with a majority Labour government that we can deliver that change that people are crying out for up and down the country after the last 13 years.
Talk to me about women with menopause in the workplace. What are you going to say about that today?
So Labour's already announced that we want larger employers to have menopause action plans for their workers who are in their 40s, 50s
Which we
and
do
60s.
at Sky, to be fair.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that's great to hear. And I'm sure that Sky has found, and lots of other businesses I've spoken to have found, that actually that's great for the business as well as being great for those women, because it means that there's already an understanding there about the measures that can be adopted to support women to stay in work. Now, we need to be taking action here, because actually the statistics show 1 in 10 women who are going through the menopause have said they're not able to deal with their symptoms at the same time as their current working structure and the conditions at work. We can be talking about really simple changes to uniform, for example, like Tesco have made, changes to flexible working to keep those women in the workforce. It's so important for them, but it's really important for our economy as well.
Absolutely. Menopause doesn't mean you have to keep women on pause. Annelise Dodds, it's good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.